A bakery cashier returned the Mafia boss's blood-stained watch after a wounded customer hid it inside a cake box. She had until dawn to remember the final sentence he spoke before dying. But when the boss cleaned the watch, the blood revealed a scratched symbol used by someone inside his family. He trusted her because she refused his money and repeated the dying man's exact words. Then the bakery phone rang, and the caller used her private childhood name. Mara Quinn had learned that people revealed themselves in the way they ordered food after midnight. Lonely men asked for 2 forks and took both slices home. Guilty men overpaid. Frightened men watched the door instead of the menu. At 1:17 on a rain-soaked Thursday morning, the stranger who entered Honey and Rye did not look at the cakes at all. He looked behind Mara, toward the kitchen exit. Then at the reflection in the pastry case. He was in his late 40s. Grey suit soaked through. One hand pressed beneath his ribs. Blood darkened his fingers. Mara came around the counter. She was a plus-size woman with strong arms from lifting flour tubs and a calm face customers often mistook for softness. "Sit down," she said. "I'm calling an ambulance." "No police." His voice broke on the second word. "An ambulance is not the police. It becomes them." He stumbled into a chair. The bakery's owner, Ruth, was in the back, checking tomorrow's bread orders. Mara could hear the industrial mixer turning and the soft chime of the proofing timer. The stranger pulled a white cake box from beneath his coat. It bore the bakery's gold wheat logo. But Mara had not packed it. 1 lemon cake. He whispered, "No name. 7 candles. Box it with the clock." What clock? He shoved the box toward her. His hand left a red print on the lid. Mara opened it. Inside was no cake. Only a heavy silver watch wrapped in wax paper. Blood marked the crystal and the leather strap. The stranger caught her wrist. "Tell Damian the 7th bell rings before the flour comes home." The proofing timer chimed. The mixer squealed as Ruth turned it off. A truck horn sounded outside. The 3 noises struck at once, and the stranger's last words shattered in Mara's mind into separate pieces. 7th bell. Before. Flour. Home. He sagged sideways. Mara lowered him to the tile and pressed both hands over the wound. "Stay with me. Tell me your name." His eyes found hers. "Tell Theo what." His mouth moved. No sound came. By the time Ruth ran from the kitchen, Theo was gone. The ambulance arrived 6 minutes later. Police came 2 minutes after that. The white cake box had disappeared from beside the chair. Mara knew because she remembered exactly where she had placed it, on the 3rd black floor tile from the pastry case. Logo facing the door. The watch was still in her apron pocket. She had put it there when the paramedic asked her to clear the floor. A uniformed officer questioned her while another searched the bakery. Mara answered each question exactly. The stranger came in at 1:17. He ordered a lemon cake that did not exist. He said 7 candles. He said a name, Damian. She did not mention the watch. Something about the missing box warned her not to. When the officers left, Ruth locked the front door and stared at the blood on Mara's apron. "You are not going home alone. Neither are you. I have lived above this bakery for 29 years. I know every squeak in the stairs. Tonight someone walked out with a blood-stained box while police were standing 10 feet away." Ruth stopped arguing. Mara washed her hands until the water ran cold, then took the watch from her pocket. It was expensive but not decorative. The steel case was scratched. The black leather strap showed years of wear. beneath the blood on the back. 2 initials were engraved D. V. Ruth saw them and went pale. Damian Vale. Mara knew the name. Everyone in Chicago did. Damian Vale owned shipping yards, security companies, half a riverfront redevelopment, and enough frightened silence to make newspaper stories use words like alleged. He had inherited the Vale organization after his father died, then spent 5 years turning street violence into contracts, union, and private enforcement that looked legal until someone asked the wrong question. Mara had seen photographs. Dark hair, unsmiling mouth, eyes that never seemed surprised. "We give it to the police," Ruth said. "The police just searched this room, and the cake box vanished. Then we throw it in the river." Mara looked at the watch hands. 4:17. The second hand was frozen between marks. "Theo died to get this here, and you want to honor him by joining him." Mara found a folded card in the watch strap. No number. Only an address 2 blocks away at the Vale-owned Mercer Hotel, and 1 word private. She put on her coat. Ruth grabbed her arm. "Mara, he told me to tell Damian. Men like Damian Vale do not receive messages. They receive bodies. Then he can receive both in one night." She made Ruth call her cousin and leave through the kitchen. Mara walked through the rain to the Mercer Hotel with the watch sealed inside a clean pastry bag. The lobby was empty except for a night clerk and 2 men in dark coats who stopped pretending to read their phones when she entered. Mara set the pastry bag on the marble desk. "I need to return something to Damian Vale." The clerk's face changed. One of the men approached. "You can give it to me." "No, miss. You do not understand where you are. A hotel lobby. You understand enough to be difficult. I understand enough not to hand a bloodstained watch to a stranger." His hand moved toward her elbow. Mara stepped back. "Touch me, and everyone in this lobby learns exactly what is inside the bag." The elevator doors opened. Damian Vale walked out with no coat, no tie, and a pistol hidden badly enough beneath his jacket that Mara knew he wanted it seen. 2 guards followed. He looked at the pastry bag, then at the blood on her cuff. "Who are you?" "Mara Quinn, cashier at Honey and Rye." "Why do you have my watch?" "A wounded man hid it in a cake box and died on our floor." Damian's expression did not move, but every man around him went still. "What man?" He said his name was Theo. 1 guard swore under his breath. Damian held out his hand. Mara did not give him the bag. "Tell me his last name." "Arden." Damian answered immediately. "Theo Arden." Only then did Mara place the bag in his palm. "He told me to tell you something." Damian looked at the watch through the plastic. "Upstairs." "No." The guard beside him smiled without humor. Damian did not. "You walked here to bring me a dead man's property. But you will not ride an elevator. I will not enter a locked room with 4 armed men." Damian studied her, then dismissed 2 guards. "The hotel cafe has glass walls. And cameras, yes. Who's mine?" That is not reassuring. Something almost like respect appeared in his eyes. "The lobby." Then they sat across from each other beneath a chandelier while the night clerk pretended not to listen. Damian opened the pastry bag with a napkin and lifted the watch. His thumb stopped over the initials. "This was taken from my house 3 nights ago. By Theo. Theo handled internal audits. He was loyal to my father before he was loyal to me." "That is not an answer." "I do not know." Damian asked what Theo had said. Mara closed her eyes, rebuilding the bakery in sound. The timer. The mixer. The horn. Theo's breath. Tell Damian the 7th bell rings before the flower comes home. She repeated it once. Exactly as she remembered. Damian's gaze sharpened. Before, yes. Not below. Before. You are certain? Mara heard the proofing timer again, and felt Theo's hand on her wrist. I am certain those were the words I heard. I am not certain I heard them perfectly. Damian leaned back. Most witnesses become more certain when they are afraid. Most people think certainty sounds useful. He wiped blood from the case with a clean cloth. Beneath the red smear appeared a shallow, scratched symbol, a V split through the center by one diagonal line. Damian's face changed for the first time. Not fear. Recognition. What is it? Mara asked. A family mark. Your crest. No. Something older. Used only when one Vale gives an emergency order to another, without witnesses. How many people know it? 6. How many are alive? 5. He turned the watch over. Theo was not family. Then someone inside your family marked it, or wanted me to believe that. The distinction mattered. Mara nodded. Good. Damian looked at her. Good. You did not decide before checking. I have made that mistake before. He reached into his jacket and placed an envelope on the table. $10,000. For the watch. Your statement. And the inconvenience. Mara did not touch it. Theo died in my bakery. The money is not a price for him. Then do not put it beside his blood. The guard behind Damian shifted as if offended on his behalf. Damian closed the envelope and returned it to his pocket. What do you want? To know why the cake box disappeared while the police were inside. You think my people took it. I think someone did. And if I tell you to go home, someone watched Theo enter my bakery. Going home does not make me unseen. The bakery phone rang in Mara's coat pocket. Ruth had forwarded the business line to Mara's mobile after closing. The screen showed no number. Damian gestured for her to answer. Mara put it on speaker. A man breathed once. You always did stay too late. Wren. Mara's body went cold. No one had called her Wren since her mother died when Mara was 11. Who is this? Give the watch back to the dead man. The line ended. Damian stood. Now we go upstairs. You do not order me. Someone who knows your childhood name has Theo's information and my family's mark. My suite is the most secure room in this building. Secure? For whom? For you. If you choose to come. He said the last part deliberately. Mara looked at the glass doors. The dark street. And the guard, scanning every reflection. I choose the room with 2 exits. There are 3. Show me all of them. Damian did. The private suite had a main door, a service corridor, and a fire stair hidden behind a paneled wall. He gave Mara the keycard and did not lock the doors. That first act did not make her trust him. It made trust possible. Inside. He called Honey and Rye. Ruth did not answer. Mara's pulse jumped. Damian sent 1 guard. Then stopped. Your choice. My man or police? Both. He called both. Ruth was found safe at her cousin's apartment. Furious that Mara had not updated her. The bakery, however, had been entered through the rear door. Nothing appeared stolen except the security recorder. The blood on the floor had been scrubbed away. They are erasing Theo's path. Mara said. No. Damian replied. They are controlling it. Erasing everything would create questions. Removing only the recording lets them replace the story later. He opened the watch case with a small tool The mechanism was intact except for a sticky red-brown residue around the stem. Blood, Mara asked. Not only blood. She leaned closer and smelled sugar. Raspberry glaze. From your bakery, we made raspberry mirror cakes yesterday. The glaze dries tacky and clear. She remembered Theo's fingers on the white box. One cuff had shone under the pastry lights. He touched the prep counter before he reached me. Damian looked at her. You notice a lot. I remember a lot. It is not the same. At Honey and Rye, regulars expected Mara to remember their orders. Allergies, birthdays, divorce, and lies. She could replay a conversation if she rebuilt the sounds around it. But stress changed the edges. Fear made one word borrow the shape of another. She told Damian that. He did not dismiss the limit. Then we reconstruct the bakery. He said, Not tonight. Tonight is all we have. Theo said dawn. He said nothing about dawn. Damian showed her a message on Theo's phone record. At 6 a.m, the Vale Family Council would vote on a shipping merger that would place all internal security under one person, Damian's uncle, Damian Vale. Theo had requested a private meeting before that vote. If Theo found something, Damian said, someone needs the vote completed before his evidence surfaces. Why trust me with this? I do not. Mara raised an eyebrow. You refused money, admitted uncertainty, and repeated Theo's words without improving them. That makes you more reliable than most people I trust. It does not make you safe. There is a compliment buried in there somewhere. I am not skilled at burying them. You bury other things. His gaze held hers. Yes. He did not elaborate. A doctor arrived to examine the dried blood on the watch. Damian insisted on a written receipt before handing it over. Mara noticed. He was building a chain instead of relying on authority. The doctor found 2 blood types. One likely Theo's. The second was older, trapped beneath the watch bezel. Testing would take longer than dawn. The raspberry glaze contained fine white dust. Flour, Mara said. Damian looked at her. The flour comes home. Honey and Rye bought from a cooperative called Home Grain, which collected unsold specialty flour from member bakeries every Thursday before dawn. Before they left the hotel, Damian insisted that Mara change out of her blood-stained uniform. A dress and coat appeared within 10 minutes. Both expensive and both the wrong size. Mara looked at the clothes. Then at him. Did you guess? My assistant did. Your assistant guessed that every large woman has the same shoulders. Damian dismissed the clothes without argument and asked what she needed. My locker at the bakery has jeans, a sweater, and shoes. The bakery may be watched. Then send someone for the bag while I wait here by an unlocked door. Damian nodded. One of his men brought the clothes 20 minutes later in a clear evidence sack because the locker had been disturbed. Mara checked every seam and pocket before changing in the suite bathroom. When she came out, Damian had placed food on the table toast. Eggs and coffee. I did not ask for breakfast. You have not eaten. That is an observation, not permission. He looked at the plate. May I leave it there in case you choose it? Yes. She ate half the toast while they reviewed Theo's recent movements. Damian did not watch her eat. That small courtesy surprised her more than the armed guards. Theo had visited Honey and Rye 7 times in the previous month. Always during Mara's shift. But she remembered him only twice. The other visits were hidden among ordinary transactions made by strangers carrying written orders. Mara pulled up the bakery's cloud receipts from Ruth's tablet. She could hear voices behind each total, an elderly man who repeated every number, a young woman who pronounced almond as if it had 2 L's, a courier who tapped his thumbnail against the counter in groups of 4. Theo had been testing whether information could pass through the bakery without drawing notice. He used customers as pieces. Mara said. He used what they already did. Damian replied. That does not make it harmless. No. Damian's phone displayed a map of 3 secure residences. Choose one. Ruth and your staff can join you. Mara studied the locations. Each was owned by a Vale company. That is not a choice. It is 3 versions of your control. They are protected. By the people we suspect. Not all of them. You cannot tell me which ones. Damian's patience thinned. Someone used your childhood name and entered your workplace. I cannot protect you in an apartment with a broken back gate. Protection without an exit is custody. Custody keeps people alive. It also keeps them available. The silence sharpened. Damian walked to the window, then returned with a different answer. What would protection you accept look like? A hotel room under Ruth's name. Paid by me. With security she chooses. 2 keys. And no tracking on my phone. That is weaker. It is mine. He called a hotel unaffiliated with Vale Holdings. Reserved 2 adjoining rooms under Ruth's name. And arranged for an off-duty female detective Ruth trusted to watch the hall. He paid only after Mara agreed he could cover 1 night as a documented witness expense. You negotiate everything, he said. People who do not are usually negotiating with something they cannot see. She looked at his bare wrist, like a missing watch. He glanced at the blood-stained mechanism on the table. My father gave it to me at 16, he said. A man who controls his time controls his life. Did he? He controlled everyone else's. That was not my question. Damian met her eyes. No. For the first time, she saw the wound beneath his discipline, a son who had inherited power and learned too late that control was not the same as safety. Mara did not comfort him. She simply left the truth where he could choose to face it. Theo's phrase could point to the return truck. What time? Damian asked. 4:30. The watch had stopped at 4:17. 13 minutes before the flower comes home, he said. But Theo died at 1:20. The watch stopped earlier, or it was set to look that way. Mara thought of the sentence again. 7th bell rings before the flower comes home. Honey and Rye had 7 oven timers, each with a different chime because Ruth could not read small displays without glasses. The 7th timer was in the downstairs proofing room. It rang at 4:15 every Thursday to remind staff to seal returned flour. The 7th bell is not a church. Mara said. It is our last timer. Damian stood. We go now. We. You know the building. And someone knows me. Which is why you do not go alone. He assigned 4 guards. Mara refused to leave until Ruth joined them by video and confirmed the bakery's floor plan. Damian listened while Mara explained every entrance. When one guard suggested forcing the rear door, Mara corrected him. The hinge opens outward. You will block the alley and trap us inside. Damian changed the plan without defending the mistake. That earned another fraction of trust. Honey and Rye looked smaller, with armed men around it. Rain shone in the alley. The front door remained locked. But the kitchen window had been closed carelessly after the break-in. Mara led Damian through the service entrance. No lights. She whispered. The display case reflects the street. Anyone watching will see us. They moved through darkness, scented with yeast and bleach. The seventh timer waited downstairs beside the proofing cabinets. At 4:14, it began to tick louder. Mara opened the return flour cage. 6 sacks stood inside, each marked with the home grain stamp. There should have been 7. One is missing. The timer rang. At the same moment, someone fired through the basement window. Damian pulled Mara behind a steel rack. Guards returned fire. A second shooter entered from the kitchen. Flour exploded into the air as bullets tore through sacks. Mara could not see, but she heard shoes on the stairs. One heavy, one dragging. A man came through the white cloud, wearing a Vale security badge. He raised a pistol. Damian shot his shoulder before he could fire. The man fell, then bit down on something hidden in his tooth. Damian's guard forced his jaw open. But too late. Poison. He died without speaking. On his coat was the split V symbol. Too easy. Mara said. Damian looked at the body. Yes. The missing flour sack was found in the alley, slit open and empty, inside the return cage. Mara found a paper tag stuck beneath the bottom rail. It listed 6 bakery codes and 1 handwritten word below. Damian looked at her. Theo said below. Mara felt the certainty drain from her. I heard before. The tag could be planted. Or, I was wrong. The mistake cost them because Damian shifted his search to the basement tunnels beneath the bakery, while his men opened an old utility passage. A delivery van struck one of the guards in the alley and escaped with the dead attacker's phone. The man survived, but his leg was crushed. Mara watched the ambulance take him away and knew her word had changed the plan. Damian did not blame her. That made the guilt sharper. I told you my memory has edges. She said, you told me before we acted. And you acted anyway. I chose the risk. Your man paid for it. The driver paid for it. That sounds convenient. Damian's face closed. What would you have me say? That trust does not make me infallible. I never thought it did. Then stop looking at me like I am the only clean thing in your world. The words hit him. For a moment, she saw anger. Then something more honest beneath it. You are right, he said. I made you useful because everyone around me is compromised. That is not the same as seeing you. The apology was incomplete. But real. Start again, Mara said. With what? With Theo's sentence. Not your theory. Not mine. They returned to the suite and rebuilt the bakery sounds using Mara's phone recordings of the timers. The mixer, the door chime, and the delivery horn. Each time she repeated the dying sentence. She marked where noise overlapped. The word before had landed under the mixer squeal. Below was possible. So was B4. A warehouse code. Damian showed her the Vale shipping map. Depot B4 sat beside the river and stored flour for the family's charitable food program. Theo had audited that program. The flour comes home. Mara whispered. Home grain returns flour to B4 after collection. At 5:10, and the 7th bell. There are no bells at the depot. Mara replayed Theo's voice. The cadence mattered. He had paused after Damian, then spoken 8 beats. Tell Damian. The 7th bell rings. B4. The flour comes home. Not before. B4. She heard it now because the mixer squeal had stretched the sound. He gave us a location. Damian called the depot manager. No answer. They reached B4 at 4:56, with 2 vehicles and police units kept several blocks back because Damian did not trust which officers had been paid. The depot was a brick warehouse filled with flour, pallets, and donation boxes. Its security cameras had been disabled from inside. On the office wall hung 7 brass service bells once used at Vale River docks. The 7th had been polished recently. Mara pressed it. A compartment opened behind the mounting board. Inside was a ledger, a photograph of Theo with Mara's mother, and a sealed letter addressed to Damian. Mara's knees weakened. Her mother, Ellen Quinn, stood beside Theo 20 years younger, holding Mara as a toddler. On the back, in Ellen's handwriting, were 2 words, My Wren. The private name had not come from a hidden childhood file. Theo had known it. Damian opened the letter only after Mara nodded. Theo wrote that he had found evidence Adrian Vale had diverted charity flour shipments to move weapons and launder money. Ellen Quinn, then a junior bookkeeper for Vale Foods, discovered the first scheme 18 years earlier. She copied the records and gave them to Theo. Before they could expose Adrian, Ellen died in what police called a highway accident. Theo hid the originals and spent years pretending loyalty while building a complete chain. The watch belonged to Damian's father. The older blood under the bezel was Ellen's. She had been wearing it temporarily after using its stop function to time a transfer at the depot. Adrian took it from the crash scene and kept it as leverage. Theo stole it 3 nights ago because the old blood could connect Ellen to the hidden accounts and prove her access. Damian read the final paragraph twice. His father had learned the truth after Ellen's death. Instead of exposing Adrian, he buried the case to prevent a family war. He allowed Ellen's name to be smeared as a thief. Damian lowered the letter. My father knew. Yes. Theo knew he knew. Yes, and he still served him. Mara looked at the photograph. Maybe survival was the only way he could finish what they started. Damian's face hardened against grief, or cowardice. Both can live in the same person. The ledger changed the central question. They were no longer only hunting the person who killed Theo. Mara spread the ledger. Photograph. And watch across a packing table and forced them to separate fact from inheritance. The physical signs came first. Ellen's blood beneath the bezel. Raspberry glaze from Honey and Rye. Flour dust from the return route. And the split V scratched after the watch left Damian's possession. Behavior came next. The missing cake box. The stolen recorder. The false officer at the bakery. And the attacker who carried a symbol too obvious to be genuine proof. Timeline closed the gaps. Adrian controlled charity distribution when Ellen died. His security division inspected B4 every year. He proposed the merger only after Theo requested a private audience. 3 kinds of setup. Mara said. Not 3 versions of the same suspicion. Damian watched her build the chain. You have done this before. Not with murder. With cash drawers. She explained how a dishonest employee could hide theft by making every shortage look identical. 1 missing 20 might be an error. The same amount missing after the same shift. Paired with changed refund slips and a disabled camera, became a method. Patterns do not tell you who, she said. They tell you where the lie needs help. Damian touched his father's letter. The lie needed my family, and your father gave it help. The words landed between them. Damian walked away from the table and pressed both hands against the loading bay wall. Mara could have softened the statement. She did not. After a long silence, he said, When I was 13, there was an attack outside my school. My father put me in a safe room for 9 hours and never explained what happened. He said fear was a door enemies used. What did you learn to lock the door before anyone else could? Mara looked at him. That is why you keep calling rooms safe, when only you control the key. He did not deny it. And what did you learn from Ellen? That memory could keep a dead person present. I remembered every word she said because I thought forgetting one would kill her again. Did it work? No. It made me afraid of being wrong. Damian came back to the table. Theo chose you because of that. Theo did not know me. He knew your mother. That is not the same. No. Damian's hand rested near hers without touching. Mara understood that he was not asking about evidence. She turned her palm upward. His fingers closed around hers. Warm and controlled only because he was controlling himself. The contact lasted a few seconds. Then Mara withdrew first. And he let her. Respect, she thought, was measured in how someone released what they wanted to keep, on the reverse side of Ellen's photograph. Beneath the nickname, Mara found a faint indentation. She shaded it with the side of a pencil. A second line appeared. A. V. Took the river key. Damian identified Adrian's initials. The river key opened B4's manual grain and fire controls. It explained how Adrian could prepare the warehouse as a burn site and why Theo had hidden evidence there instead of trusting electronic systems. Yet the note also created a problem. Adrian had access 18 years ago. But anyone with the key now could imitate him. Damian called the depot registry and learned the river key had been signed out that evening by Sophia Vale. Your cousin, Mara said, my foundation director, and one of the 5 people who knows the split V. Yes. Do not decide. Damian looked at her. You think I will repeat my father? I think Payne likes a quick suspect. He put the phone down without ordering. Sophia detained. That restraint changed their strategy. They would not hunt one family member in secret. They would preserve the evidence, force the Dawn Council into the open, and make every person state where they had been before anyone could coordinate a single story. Their goal was no longer to protect Damian's organization from a traitor. It was to expose the organization's role in protecting the traitor, even if the exposure destroyed Damian's claim to lead it. They were confronting a crime the Vale family had protected for 18 years. Adrian wanted the security merger because it would place the remaining depots, records, and witnesses under his command. At dawn, the family council would give him the authority to erase everything. We go to the police now, Mara said. Damian looked at the ledger. Half these names own police captains. Then the state attorney. My father bribed 2 of her predecessors. This one, I do not know. You keep looking for a perfect door, and you keep assuming doors open because you knock. No. I assume we choose one before the building burns. Damian called a federal prosecutor Theo had named in the letter. He offered the ledger, the watch, and unrestricted access to Vale records in exchange for immediate witness protection for Mara, Ruth, and the bakery staff. The prosecutor asked what he wanted for himself. Nothing, Damian said. That is not credible. Then write down that I asked for nothing and use it against me later. Mara watched him make the first moral payment. Turning over the records could destroy the legitimate companies, expose his own crimes, and fracture the family. He did it without asking her to praise him. The prosecutor agreed to send a team, but the roads near B4 suddenly filled with Vale security vehicles. Adrian had tracked the watch through a tiny transmitter hidden in the strap. Damian found it too late. You brought him here, Mara said. I brought the watch. Same difference tonight. He ordered his men to move Mara into a reinforced office. She refused. No locked room. There are 12 armed men outside. Then give me a route. Not a cage. Damian opened the warehouse's west gate and handed her the key to a delivery truck. The river road leads to the federal building. And I hold them here. That is not a plan. That is a funeral. It buys you time. Theo already bought time with his life. Adrian's voice came over the warehouse speakers. Calm. Cultivated. Almost amused. Damian, bring me the ledger. And the girl walks away. Mara looked at the ceiling. The speaker system was linked to the old dock office. Adrian was inside the building, or controlling it from the adjacent silo. He said the girl. She murmured. He does not know my name. He called you Wren. The phone caller did. Maybe not Adrian. Damian understood. The person outside had Theo's letter, or Ellen's photograph. But Adrian's wording suggested he had not seen Mara personally. The caller could be another family member. The scratched symbol was used by 5 living Vales. Adrian might be the architect. Not the voice. A second betrayal remained inside the circle. Before they could act, warehouse sprinklers activated. Not water. Fuel sprayed from repurposed lines over the eastern pallets. Adrian had prepared the depot as a burn site. His men fired incendiary rounds through the windows. Flame rolled across flour, dust, and cardboard. Damian pulled Mara behind a forklift. Westgate, he ordered. No. Mara heard a bell ring above the roar. Once. Then twice. The service bells were connected to old mechanical fire doors. Someone was signaling from the dock office. 7 bells. Then a pause. Then 4. 7. B4. Theo's code. But Theo was dead. Ruth, no. Only someone who knew the phrase. Mara ran toward the office. Damian caught her arm. That is the fire. That is the witness. It is bait. Then choose whether you trust me. He released her. I trust you. I do not trust the building. Good. Cover the stairs. They crossed through smoke. In the dock office, they found Sophia Vale, Damian's younger cousin, bound to a chair with a gunshot wound in her side. She had been the caller. Wren. She gasped. Mara froze. Sophia explained that Theo had contacted her because she managed the family foundation. She learned Ellen's nickname from the photograph and called Mara to frighten her into surrendering the watch before Adrian killed her. She had stolen the cake box from the bakery while posing as a paramedic and removed the security recorder, believing she was hiding evidence from corrupt police. Then Adrian captured her. I thought I was protecting you, Sophia said. Mara's voice went cold. You threatened me with my dead mother's name. I needed you afraid. That is not protection. Damian, cut the ropes. Sophia looked at him. Adrian knows about the federal call. He has someone inside the prosecutor's office. The team coming here is not federal. This was Adrian's countermove. He had let them believe outside authority would save them. Then sent his own men in government vehicles. Damian checked the approaching convoy on the warehouse monitor. The lead vehicle bore federal markings. But the light pattern was wrong. Mara recognized the driver from Honey and Rye. He was the policeman who had questioned her while the cake box disappeared. Damian's men were trapped between Adrian's security teams and the false federal convoy. The ledger could not leave through the river road. Damian looked at the burning warehouse. Sophia's wound. And Mara. I can call the family council and trade Adrian control for safe passage. He will kill us after the vote. Sophia said, "He may keep Damian alive." Mara replied, "That is not the same thing." Damian asked Mara what Theo's exact first words had been in the bakery. "1 lemon cake. No name. 7 candles. Box it with the clock." Why 7 candles, I do not know. She forced herself to rebuild the scene again. Theo had not looked at the cakes. He had looked at the pastry case reflection. He knew someone followed him. The order was not an order. 1 lemon cake. Honey and Rye's lemon cake recipe used 1 stamped proof card stored in the register drawer. No name meant blank label. 7 candles meant 7 digits. Box it with the clock meant place the watch with a code. Mara ran to the delivery truck where emergency bakery supplies from home grain had been loaded. 1 carton carried Honey and Rye packaging. Inside, beneath blank cake labels, was a stack of carbon copy order slips from the past month. Theo had used the bakery as a dead drop without Mara knowing. 7 unusual orders appeared under false names, each paid in cash, each containing quantities that formed a 7-digit number. Mara remembered every customer who placed them. 4 were ordinary people reading from written notes. 2 were Adrian's security officers. The 7th was Sophia. "I placed what Theo told me," Sophia said. The 7 digits matched an evidence locker at the central train station. Theo had divided the code among bakery orders so no single slip exposed it. Mara's memory connected faces, voices, and timing. More important, the slips proved Adrian's men had interacted with Theo's network before his death. Still, the locker evidence could not help if they died at B4. The false federal convoy entered the yard. Adrian came over the speaker again. 5 minutes. "Damian, the ledger or the bakery girl burns with the warehouse." Damian looked at Mara. "Take Sophia through the flower chute. It exits near the river. And I give him what he wants." "No, this is not control. It is choice. Then make a better one." Mara studied the warehouse layout. Home grain trucks entered through the north dock and followed a fixed call and response system because flour dust made radios unreliable. Drivers announced their bakery code over the loudspeaker. The dockmaster answered with a bell sequence. Every real driver knew the order. Adrian's false federal convoy had blocked the north exit, but its men were listening to his speaker network. Mara could use the system to separate those who knew Vale commands from those who followed local safety protocol. She took the microphone. "North Dock emergency. Flower flash risk. All drivers reverse on 3 bells. Engines off." On 4, Adrian's men ignored her. The 2 real home grain drivers trapped outside obeyed. Their trucks reversed, clearing a narrow path toward the river gate. Mara rang 3 bells. 1 false federal van moved automatically, then stopped when Adrian shouted over the radio. That reaction exposed which vehicle carried men trained on home grain routes. Damian's guards disabled its tires. The yard erupted in gunfire. Adrian ordered the sprinklers fully opened. Fuel spread toward the west gate. Mara rang 4 bells. The old signal to cut dock power. A veteran warehouse worker hiding near the breaker understood and shut down the pumps. The fuel spray stopped. Her knowledge was not magic. It worked because she had spent years hearing delivery drivers complain about the same bell codes at Honey and Rye. Damian moved to protect the workers instead of chasing Adrian. He ordered every west gate opened and sent his armored car to shield the evacuation lane. That cost him his clean route out. Adrian saw it and drove toward the river in the remaining false federal vehicle. Sophia tried to stand. He has the family council on video. He will claim Damian burned the depot to hide theft. Damian could stop Adrian only by abandoning the workers. He looked at Mara. Go with Sophia. No locked room. No blind obedience. Mara, save them. I will save the evidence. She took the ledger. Watch. And order slips into the old dock office, where the landline still worked because it ran on a separate copper circuit. She called the family council directly, using the number Sophia gave her. When the line opened, men and women began shouting. Mara did not accuse Adrian. She described the evidence chain: Theo's death, the watch, the family mark, Ellen's blood, the depot ledger, the divided bakery orders, the false convoy, and Sophia's presence. She named what was verified and what remained uncertain. Then Damian came on the line. He did the one thing Adrian had believed impossible: suspend the merger. He said, freeze every Vale account. I surrender my vote, my chair, and my control of security until an outside court reviews all records. If I ordered crimes, charge me with them. If my father buried Ellen Quinn's murder, put his name on the record. The council fell silent. Adrian's power depended on Damian defending the family throne. By surrendering it publicly, Damian removed the leverage. Adrian could no longer frame him as a rival protecting assets. The council's oldest member ordered all family security units to stand down pending review. Half obeyed. Half did not. Adrian had planned for betrayal. His final countermove came through the depot's grain system. He triggered the old silo release, dumping tons of flour into the burning east wing. Flour dust rose in a white cloud. One spark could turn the warehouse into a bomb. He also locked the river gates remotely, trapping workers between fire and water. Mara heard the alarm pattern too short. One long. Repeated. She had heard the same rhythm every Thursday when Homegrain tested the pneumatic gates. Manual release required 2 stations operated in sequence. North, then west. Within 15 seconds, Damian was across the warehouse helping an injured driver. Mara could not reach both. Sophia could barely stand. You take north, Mara told her. I take west. I will not make it. You know the code. I know the family system. Not the dock. Then listen to me. Mara recited the exact lever sequence from memory. Each command timed to the alarm. Sophia limped toward the north station. Mara crossed the catwalk as flour filled the air. Adrian appeared below with a pistol. He had abandoned the vehicle and returned for the ledger. Your mother thought numbers could protect her, he called. She died with copies no one believed. Mara kept moving. That is why Theo built a chain. Theo died too, and you still came back for the ledger. Adrian fired. The bullet struck the rail. Mara reached the west release and pulled the first lever. Nothing happened. North had not engaged. She counted the alarm beats. 11 seconds. 12. 13. The north light turned green. Sophia had made it. Mara pulled the second lever. The river gates opened. Workers poured through. Damian saw Adrian beneath the catwalk and raised his gun. But Adrian stepped behind Mara's ladder. Drop the ledger. Mara did. Pages scattered into flour dust. Adrian smiled and fired toward them with an incendiary round. Damian could shoot him or catch Mara as the catwalk support failed. He chose Mara. He crossed the distance and pulled her from the falling platform while the ledger pages ignited. Adrian ran for the river gate. For one terrible second, it seemed the evidence had burned. Then Mara showed Damian the carbon order slips tucked inside her apron and the watch strapped beneath her sleeve. The ledger was important, not singular. Theo had designed redundancy. Mara had preserved the pieces Adrian underestimated. Outside, real federal agents arrived after the prosecutor realized her first team had been intercepted. Adrian reached the river road, but the homegrown drivers had reversed their trucks across it on Mara's 3-bell order. He was trapped between flour trucks and federal vehicles. He fired at the agents, was wounded, and taken alive. He did not confess. He demanded counsel. The case did not need his confession. The train station locker contained Ellen's original account copies, photographs of Adrian meeting arms, brokers, and Theo's notarized timeline. The watch carried Ellen's blood beneath a bezel Adrian had kept in his private safe. The security transmitter linked to Adrian's control device. The bakery order slips connected his officers to the dead drop network. Sophia admitted her threat and evidence removal, accepting charges for obstruction. Her testimony explained the missing box without turning her mistake into heroism. The officer who helped erase the bakery footage was arrested. The split V on the watch was traced to Adrian's emergency order, set through old family correspondence. Each fact supported another. By sunrise, the Vale family council had collapsed. The merger was dead, and Damian Vale had no throne left to defend. He sat beside Mara on the curb outside the smoking warehouse while paramedics treated a cut along his temple. Her hands shook only after everything stopped. Damian noticed and offered his coat without placing it around her. "May I?" he asked. Mara nodded. He draped it over her shoulders. "You trusted me," she said. "Not perfectly. No one does anything perfectly tonight. I trusted your limits." She looked at the burning depot. "And I was wrong about one word. You corrected it. After a man was hurt. The man who drove the van hurt him. Do not erase my part because you care about me." Damian went quiet. "I do care about you." The words were plain, almost severe. "That does not make you innocent." Mara said, "I know, and it does not make control romantic. I know that now. Do you?" I opened every gate I could. After locking doors. Yes. 1, 2. He did not defend himself. What repair looks like is not mine to decide. That answer mattered. Mara looked toward Ruth, who had arrived in a borrowed coat and was shouting at federal agents until someone let her through. "Start by paying for the bakery floor," Mara said. "At market rate. Through the court. No gifts." "Agreed. And every employee gets legal counsel, not chosen by you." "Agreed. And you tell the truth about my mother even if it destroys your father's name." Damian's expression tightened. "Agreed." The following year changed all of them slowly. Adrian Vale went to trial on charges of murder, conspiracy, weapons trafficking, fraud, and attempted mass killing. Sophia pleaded guilty to obstruction and unlawful surveillance. She testified without asking Mara to forgive her. Damian surrendered company records that led to his own indictment for crimes unrelated to Theo's murder. He accepted a negotiated sentence involving prison time, forfeiture, and years of supervised cooperation. Newspapers called it strategy. Mara knew strategy and remorse could exist together, just as cowardice and courage had lived inside Theo. She did not turn Damian into a better man in one night. He chose actions that made change possible, then paid for them. Honey and Rye closed for 4 months. The bloodstained floor was replaced. The back door received a camera system controlled jointly by Ruth and the staff. No Vale company owned it. Restitution from seized charity funds rebuilt the kitchen and compensated the injured guard. Mara became operations manager because Ruth said anyone who could run a gunfight through bell codes could handle wholesale orders. Mara answered that gunfights were easier than bakers. Her real gift remained memory, but she stopped treating it as an obligation to carry everyone else's words forever. She wrote things down. She asked people to repeat themselves. She admitted when fear blurred an edge. Limits became part of skill, not a shame attached to it. Damian wrote from prison once a month. His letters were short. He never asked her to wait. He described the small repairs he could make from where he was identifying hidden accounts, returning property, naming officials who had protected violence, and meeting Daniel Arden's widow to hear what Theo's loyalty had cost his family. Mara answered only when she had something true to say. Their trust rebuilt through facts, not promises. 2 years later, Damian entered Honey and Rye on a rainy Thursday evening under supervised release. He wore no guards inside. He stopped at the door until Mara saw him. "May I come in? You already opened the door." That was not the question. Mara looked at him. He seemed leaner, quieter, less certain in a way that made him more honest. "Yes." He approached the counter and placed a repaired silver watch in front of her. The blood was gone, preserved in evidence samples. The scratch remained. The split V had not been polished away. The court released it. He said, "It belongs to you more than me." Mara pushed it back. "No, it belonged to your father. Then to the evidence. Then to the truth. I do not collect graves. What should I do with it? Put it somewhere public with my mother's name beside it." Damian nodded. "The Foundation Museum opens next month. Ellen Quinn and Theo Arden have the first room. Not the Vale family. Not first." Ruth appeared from the kitchen, saw Damian, and loudly announced that no one received free coffee because of emotional history. Damian paid exact change. He remembered Mara's ordered dark roast. 1 splash of milk. No sugar. "Attentive or alarming?" she asked. I still ask myself. "Good." He looked at the pastry case. 1 lemon cake. No name. 7 candles. Mara's hand stopped over the register. "That is not funny." "I know. I wanted to replace the last time those words were spoken here." She studied him. "With what? A birthday?" He pointed toward the window. Outside stood Theo's widow, Sophia, Ruth's cousin, the injured guard walking with a cane, and 3 former bakery employees. On the table waited a simple cake with Ellen Quinn's name written across it. Not a memorial to death. A celebration of the day the museum would open and restore her public record. Damian had not bought the bakery or arranged a private spectacle. He had asked Ruth, invited the people affected, and waited outside until Mara chose. "You planned this without telling me," she said. Ruth said, "Surprises are allowed if doors remain open." Mara looked at Ruth. Ruth shrugged. "I also said you could throw him out." Damian stepped back, leaving the path clear. "Your choice." Mara looked at the watch, the open bakery door, and the people waiting in the rain. "Bring them in," she said. Lauded. After the cake was cut and the 7th candle burned lower than the others, Damian stood beside Mara at the counter. He did not touch her until she placed her hand palm up between them. His fingers closed around hers gently. "Without ownership." "Dinner?" he asked. "Public place." Agreed. No armored convoy. Agreed. And if I remember something differently from you, we check. Mara smiled. You are learning. He looked at the watch displayed temporarily beneath the bakery lights. Its hands had been reset, but the scratch remained visible. Slowly. At closing time, Mara carried the watch to the new museum herself. Damian walked beside her. Not ahead. The glass case bore two names, Ellen Quinn and Theo Arden. Beneath them, a small plaque explained that evidence was not one object, one witness, or one powerful man's certainty. Truth survived because ordinary people preserved each piece, and because someone finally chose to pay the cost of believing them. Mara set the watch inside. When she closed the case, the clock tower across the river rang 7 times. She listened until the final bell faded, then took Damian's offered hand and walked out through a door. Neither of them needed to lock.